So I feel like that heaven got to be something like that, like what sleep is or what breath work is. It got to be something along those lines because that's the only time that I'm forgetting about being a person enough to where I don't feel the pain, and it's blissful, and I can only assume that they're kin. You know what I mean? Like sleep is a cousin of death.
Or psychedelics.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm every you know what I mean.
Sleep is the cousin of death. Psychedelics is like the uncle.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
something,
yeah.
like,
And on psychedelics, I like closing my eyes. You know what I mean? I feel like I prefer to have my eyes closed and open. You know what I mean? And so like, it's it's funny.
and that's something that we found out is like you prefer to go eyes closed. I prefer eyes open.
Yeah, it's wild
Like,
to me.
yeah,
It's so wild to me. It's such like I don't feel like anything's happening out here. You know?
I feel like this is heaven.
Yeah.
like people like this is huge because it's like, yo, this is a chimeric form, and like we're put in here in this place, and with what's going on, especially if you get into like this what's happening in the forest and the jungle, this is like scary, you know. Like as far as that, but then it's like if I can transcend my identity while in my body and be here looking at this, it's just like this veil was lifted or something to over the reality that was already here, so I could see like, oh, it's even here, like it's even in this place, and it's just more. Is it the world or is it the people or is it the shadows or is it like these jinn? I'm not saying it because I don't even go into that.
I don't know. Like even being alone, I'd still want to do doses with my eyes closed.
Yeah.
So I can't say it's people. You know what I mean? I still prefer the inside, like being inside. Like I prefer, you know what I mean? Like, no, it just feels like that's where the thing is happening, and this is just the results of that.
Can we be in both simultaneously? Like, is there this kind of this fine point?
I feel like you
like
get both.
lucidity.
I feel like you get both on the inside, because you're getting this is what's creating the outside. You know what I mean? So it's like you're getting it still. You know what I mean? Like, and then with the outside, you miss the inside. And I feel like I don't know, it's, for me, I feel like it's just a lot more action going on in here. You know what I mean? Because I've done breath work with my eyes open to like solar gaze with it at the same time. And it's nice, but it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel like my body, when it's not taking things in from this world, like when my nervous system's not taking in as much light from my eyes, and if I put headphones on and close off my ears from this for a moment, then I don't know, it just feels like it's just a lot more action in there than on the outside. Like, it just feels like a lot more going on, like nuclear explosions in here, and then out here it just looks like streamers, and it's more vibrant.
Feels great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is vibrant, streamers, all these things. When I'm looking outside, cause yeah, I'll just take it, and I will walk around. I will go for like a long walk.
Yeah.
You know, just.
Yeah.
And process but still be in thought. So, you know, even because we took ayahuasca a couple days ago, and it's a science. There's a science to ego death. Like I studied a lot of it, and all the things that the ego will go through if it takes this DMT. You know what the identity will suffer from, how it suffers from it, the ways in which that could look like at all the unique scenarios of people just being unique and seeing it. It's just like, there is this chatter.
Yeah.
There's this chatter that's like, what about this, what about that? Like, it's just, so you could identify with that, or you could not identify with it and go into the experience completely different. But you could have someone take the psychedelic and be identified with the chatter, walking around the whole time, and they're still missing it. To where if they sit down, don't identify with the chatter, see if they can get into that no mind space, inwardly, you could get a lot of things done to where if we look at the real template of how reality is put together, if you really want to make something happen, it seems like it's that. Like,
Yeah. I mean, just, and I really feel like I just can't do things in small ways, man. Like if I was to drink 2 shots of Hennessy, I wouldn't drink no more. You know what I mean? Like I'd be like, this is poison, I'm stopping. And the herbs are poison. You know what I mean? Like I recognize it. I mean, everything is poison to its own degree. You know what I mean? And once my body recognizes it, it's gonna be hard. You know what I mean? I really wish I'd have been able to just gulp a bunch of ayahuasca or whatever. We did it in the smaller amounts. So like my body just like, I recognize this is poison. You can't take any more in. I was like, damn, like, you know what I mean? But if I just did it all at once, then my body would have just had to deal with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then, yeah, it would have just killed that off.
Through an experience, yeah.
It's just like doing it smaller amounts, it's too much can step in, you know what I mean, between the next consumption and the next consumption. Because like if I'm drinking alcohol, if I just drink 3 or 4 shots quicker than the next 4 to 8, or it'd be like water. But if I drink 1, then they're gonna just be painful as fuck. Everyone's gonna be like, ugh, shit, I don't want to drink no more. I'm just tired. But it's like I gotta get past that threshold, like of my idea of myself, and I just kind of have to do it like that. I can't do it in small doses. So that was like my tough thing with the IM.
Well, I want to switch gears just like a little bit to this thing with psychedelics, because we were talking earlier about like what's gonna shake people out of this, you know, as far as the basics of mind control, is slavery being, you just, you know, make sure they don't know it's happening to them, you know, and set these things up covertly in their consciousness that's hidden, to where they're in this place where what's gonna get them out other than a near-death experience,
or their mom dying,
or someone else dying around.
That's more, I feel like, what does it. Other people.
So
dying.
other people dying.
Yeah, I think that's what does it more. Because I don't really care about my own death.
But if you had a near-death experience, like if you almost died, if you were living, not now, but if you were living ungrateful.
Like I almost died on a motorcycle before, when I was just like, all right, you know, I don't really want to die, at least right now, at least not this way. You know, but like it never made me change though.
It didn't make you change how you feel
it
about
change
how
my
you're
behaviors.
approaching.
No, that made me change. I acknowledge.
It just made you appreciate life more.
I just acknowledged like I don't want to die necessarily this way or right now. I didn't like, but then like when people died that not even that I loved them, people that really cared about me, that I know that they really loved me. When they died, I was just like, all right, you know what I mean? I gotta change things in my life, and I feel like that's like the selflessness end of it, because you know, you kind of can't even really care about your own death. When you die, you're dead. You know what I mean? You're not gonna care about. You're not gonna have opinions anymore about it.
And that's what is happening. Like, would you say the ego's getting killed with psychedelics?
Yeah, and I feel like
to a degree. Well, and not that, because I want to add something. My bad, bro.
I was gonna say, like, if you can get it done without that, like if you can get it done by just having a cathartic moment without that, and tell your father or your mother that you love them, and no matter what or whatever it is, if you can do that without any other thing being introduced, that I feel like that's the best ego death. That's the more genuine cry. Like, you know what I mean? When it's like that, I feel like if you can, like I was telling the chick that was here, I was like, yo, man, you know, she wanted to spend money on psychedelics. I'm like, yo, you just need to go home and tell your mom you're sorry. And that'll be a way bigger ego death than you doing drugs. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like sometimes, like, those is the best ego deaths, the things that get overlooked. Like just saying sorry to somebody, or, you know, but being genuine. You know what I mean? I feel like then you can enjoy psychedelic experiences. Then it's not like you gotta kill something. You're just like getting information.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna add. Is like there's a way. It's not like either or. I'm saying, and this is what I want to add, is there's no one's looking at this. There are some psychedelics that are challenging.
Yeah.
It's a challenge to take that many shrooms, or to take bufo, the toad DMT, or to take, it's like these things. They're not like, and then there's other drugs that are not challenging. It's like it takes away the challenge of all the life, and people are still grouping these together. You know, as far as like things that could be used in certain ways, and it's not like don't apologize to your parents. It's like you could take the mushrooms, have your own personal identity death, so you're more selfless, and from that place, you know, you integrate a little more, and then see your family sober.
Yeah.
You know, see your family sober with these realizations and less selfishness, and then in between, it's sort of like now you can get the information and kind of these checkpoints, and in between those, we can still have these places, but as time progresses, not time, you know, we're now getting way more genuine. Like, and it's not through the psychedelics, but it's working with them, and then being able to have other elements in life and go around it, go about it in that way.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like the conversations about psychedelics, sure, drugs, sure, but this distinction still isn't being drawn that you couldn't even take this. Like, you know, if and what you'd be going through, why you'd be going through it, what intentions do you have, how much studying have you done, research into the history and the thousands of years of plant medicine work
Yeah.
that's been happening, you know, indigenously to get to these points. Like, it doesn't seem like there's anything other than that will shake people out of something in a way that's like really effective. Like, if you get things to people, if you get these things to people and get the information on how to just not see this is your way, this is the way that I'll get to where I want to go, but this is a beeline. Or it can be a beeline if it's worked with consciously, you know.
Yeah. No, I guess it just comes down to the functionality, man. Like, if you're doing things and it's functional, like, cause like, you know, it's funny, like my mom, like I know she never tells me she loves me. I never tell her I love her really, like, cause I know, like, we don't have to say it. Cause like, the only things that say it is taking care of yourself and functioning. You know what I mean? Like, my mom's is like, yo, if I tell her I love her, she'd be like, if I told my mom I loved her and like I didn't have my life together, she'd be like, get your life together. That's like telling me you love me. That's way more, because we're not separate. She looks at it like, you're taking care of yourself is taking care of me. So take care of yourself and you function, then I know, you know what I mean? And I feel like it's just like...
You see how much more meaningful than words that is?
Yeah, exactly, yeah,
like,
yeah.
You see how much more is being communicated?
Yeah, and then so it's just like the functionality, you know what I mean? Like, if these things bring you to a greater level of function, then, you know, they should, you know what I mean? Then people will respect it, and then I think it's easier for you to respect it, like, because, like, it's just like, how is it applying? You know, like, how are you, you know, doing things and then applying them? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's, like, I guess the issue, because a lot of people are going to have experiences and never apply the things or never become functional. And so it's like, I think that's, like, the contrast or the issue with them, you know, why people lump drugs, you know, why people will lump, you know, stoner, they call all people that smoke weed stoners, you know, where some people can smoke weed and go to work every day and be functional, you know what I mean? And some people, you know, or do their work every day, do the things they need to do every day, like, you know, really be the earner that they gotta be or whatever. You know what I mean? People can be functional and do this shit. It's just that some people, like Joe Rogan was saying, he was like, weed makes you lazy. He's like, no, you're lazy, then you smoke weed or whatever. Like, it's not that the weed made you lazy. And it's like, it's just funny how that is. Like, how, yeah, it's just functionality. You know what I mean? Things functioning, like, because it's like everything in life, if it's scientific, it has a purpose, so it has a function. And it's like, that's like the mark of God, functioning. And I feel like, yeah, like, it's just like everything got to function, you know, and like, it just got to be, when it becomes dysfunctional, like when you're picking dysfunctional things over functional things, then that's when it's an issue. Like, if you could do something like tell somebody sorry, and then instead you rather do some drugs or whatever, that's when it's like wrong, you know what I mean? But if you've already gotten through those processes, you know, or whatever, then it's not the same experience. Totally different psychedelic experience.
Wow. Yeah, no, 100%. And to see that, like, I was thinking of the functionality and perpetual functionality.
Yeah.
Like being the ultimate mark of God.
Yeah.
You know, so like the sun. You know, we have the sun and it's perpetually functional.
And giving.
And all the time, and then through the chain of light, through to all the forms in nature,
it's just giving.
Everything's functioning, you know, relatively to these stars. It looks like, you know, to where these trees will function maybe for like 200 years, you know, or you know, this tree will function for like, you know, it's like these mountains will function for like 8 billion years. This star will function for like, you know, 200 billion years. Yeah, and it's just to be functional like that. And move more towards the perpetual.
Yeah, of just giving. The sun is just giving relentlessly and all indiscriminately, just indiscriminately giving. And that's like the whole Tao thing, like the whole virtue, like extending your virtue without discrimination. It's like the sun is a great expression of that. Everything, I guess, that's functional is just giving indiscriminately, you know what I mean, or more indiscriminately.
Yeah, and so we align with that. And we keep cultivating there and just being present and breathing. And I see us being able to be some sort of solution.
It's just wild because the sun isn't doing anything to harm itself as it's giving. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the one thing, you know, like, I would really like to give without taking pictures and taking videos and stuff. And, like, really just be able to wake people up in their dreams, like Pharaoh. And then really have those, because, like, you know what I mean, the small changes all, like, you wake one person up in their dreams. all their fragments begin to get woken up. And then on the inside and on the outside, you know what I mean? You see people all the time are just fragments of other people, you know.
Even families, like with multiple kids.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you meet one prototypical person and then you meet 30 other, go to 30 cities and they're on all of them. And it's like, if you wake one of them up, you're waking them all up a little bit. And then the more that one gets woken up, then the more the other ones get woken up. And then I guess the ones that are the most unstable end up getting collapsed through death. And then it just gets consolidated back into one. And so, you know, it's nice to broadcast this way, but I would really like to like shut everything down for like 5 to 10 years to where, because it's the cool thing about the net is that you can become irrelevant really fast. You can become relevant really fast and you become irrelevant really fast. So it would be nice to just disappear for 5 years or 10 years or something, and then totally change my form physically, and then come into people's dreams that way, or people come into my dreams, and then really wake people up in their dreams that way. And then, because that's all Pharaoh be doing. He goes into your dream.
Wow.
He goes in your dream, wakes you up, and then you wake up in this life, and you unconsciously find pharaohshouse.com, and you just think you found it. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just him willing it through you, and it's like, I feel like it's more effective when you're doing it that way. Like, people are gonna get it more completely that way. Like, I definitely got it more completely dealing with him that way, and I feel like, you know, I'm kind of not doing the process justice by trying to bypass it sometimes. Like, by trying to make a show of it. You know what I mean? Sometimes, I mean, personally, at this point, like, I know what I have to do.
This is what we're doing. I feel like we're in error.
Yeah, it sucks, man. Like, it's like we're doing the bad to do good. Where it's like, I know it's a way to do good and only good or whatever. You know what I mean? The more that you recognize what's good and bad, the more you can embody the good and everything. But like, it's like, yeah, it's like, how can we do this shit without taxing ourselves? You know what I mean? Like, how, you know, like the sun is shining on all of us, and it's not hurting itself.
Yeah.
And it's like kind of like getting to that stage. That's it. I guess functioning on that level.
Here's like a doodle plan. Here, I got a doodle plan. We could not do this, but just something like this. You know, like if it were, you know, we finish a season of this, and then we would fast it out. I could fast with you all the way to the point where then I would go back in and you would just keep going. And then I would just be able to communicate with you and then still make shows or just music or whatever content. And then
yeah, and you'll get sick of it.
Yeah, well, it might. I feel like just because I'm 25, I really feel like I want to be around people. Like, part of me really legit like wants to be around people genuinely. To where it's like, it's kind of like I'd probably get tired of it around 29. You know, or like.
Yeah, you might as well use
even
the gas
27.
while you got it.
Yeah, it's like I'd be able to just do like be from, because I'm 25 now. Then I could see that like, oh, okay, I could really be a sort of like a communication point for what's, you know, if you were to ever really go for that, like, see, like, is this really what, you know, is this really what it is? Like, should I really just stop trying with these like mechanical solutions and these verbal solutions? Like, I love you, and instead just really get it on point with that. But what it would take to get there sounds just like daunting. Like,
I know, yeah, you really gotta fill that space up with productivity in all ways, man. It's wild, because that's all Pharaoh was doing. Pharaoh was constantly like growing a plant or something. Like, it was constant. Like, he was doing things that did not involve the grid, and I think that's the only way you can do it. Like, either making clothes, like literally hemming clothes and everything, like really doing stuff like that is the only way that you can like get lost in that physical trance of things, to where time flies and you're just really in the moment, and you're like, wow, you look up and it's been 5-10 years that you've spent, you know, you've only had intimate contact. It's never been any just frivolous contact. It's all intimate. And like, I think that's like the only way you can do it. I don't think you can do it through distractions. I don't think there's any other way. Like, you have to really just not get busy, but like stay useful.
I'm pretty sure that's like a trait of Het Haru, or Haru is something about always keeping yourself entertained, like always, like for eternity. Like, you always like just doing something like that.
Yeah.
And you stay moving. And then it gets probably more fun. It probably gets even more live than
Yeah.
than other stuff.
Cause then you just can live with yourself so much better. Like, cause you've used all the space. You didn't waste any of the space in your day. You didn't waste any of the energy. Your new life costs you your old one. So if you use up all your energy in your lifetime for things of that nature, there's no way you can't put your head down at the end of your life and be like feeling like, oh my God, I left something on the table. Yeah,
damn.
I need to come back or something. And you'd be like, no, I've had my fill. I've filled the world. I've had my fill. And I think that's the best way to go about it, I guess, because then you can have a peaceful death, and it's peaceful life, and then peaceful death, and then should you choose to perpetuate it, you can from peace. But
So just prioritizing the peace before you let somebody fear you into,
yeah,
get into fear about some idea. But if your peace precedes that in priority, and then we could keep finding ways and keep working on ways to drop whatever we thought about what it would mean to be that. We could just be it because we always have been.
yeah.
But then stay in that space, and then really get strong in there, to where we could just keep, not even push through, but just exist through a full life where, man, we really don't have to have any type of feelings about coming back or that anything was undone or done that shouldn't have been done,
Yeah.
These things. But wow, to lose sight of that and then just go into more distraction is hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah, man. It's just like, I guess you just got to see distraction for what it is, and then once you see it for what it is, it's like it's harder to engage in it. If you're looking at distraction like self-hate or self-harm, then it's harder to do it. The more that you can see it, like, man, this is really, if it's not growing me, what's it doing?
Same thing with eating shit. Same thing with frivolous ejaculation.
If it's not growing you, what's it doing? If you're not busting a nut and growing a human out of that, what's them seeds? What are they blossoming into? Because it's blossoming into something, destruction, though.
Yeah, and because every time we go to the stores to this day, I could look at some Reese's on the shelf, or some donuts and stuff, and
yeah, man, and the recall is crazy. That's like they made that movie Total Recall. I don't know if you remember that movie Total Recall. They remade it like not that long ago, but like it was like a movie. I think it was the late '80s, or Arnold Schwarzenegger or whatever. But they remade it with Colin Farrell like in like 2013 or some shit. But it's basically about like this guy. He goes into like a dream machine or whatever. You know what I mean? And it's like he doesn't know who he is, and then he finally gets total recall and remembers who he is. It's just the recall. It's alchemy is the recall. Like, you look at the Reese's and then you really start to formulate the texture, the taste, all the ingredients. In your mind, you're alchemically recreating that whole experience, like going back to when your teeth touched it as a kid and all of that, just from seeing it.
You didn't know it was self-harm.
Yeah.
You didn't know it, but if I know now it's self-harm, it's easier to not. I mean, of course I'm not gonna grab it.
Yeah.
But it's still the urge, even though from this memories.
Yeah.
It's still subsiding a little bit more.
Yeah.
To where I could like really correct my perception.
Yeah, it's just like you're recalling it. We all recall shit unconsciously, and then you go back to that place, and you recreate, you really re-experience it, and it's like it really is part of your diet. That whole process, you know what I mean? Your memories are a part of your diet. Whatever memories you're recalling, that's part of your diet.
There's like, I don't know, even when I'm doing breath work, especially as more time goes on, just doing more sessions, man. Like, I'll hit a point in the session, really random, just a random food that I had a long time ago that I've never, you know what I mean? Just comes up in my memory out of nowhere. And I think it's just because, like, I'm just getting more sensitivity back in a part of my gut or something.
Some cells still got that in them.
Yeah, and I just kind of touched that cell finally and got back to that cell and it kind of released that memory. Like that memory got released of that food. I was like, oh, it's either that or like a parasite.
Yeah, right. I don't know. Yeah, it happens a lot when I fast. I always have like old memories of like high school lunch table food. I don't know what that shit is about, man. But yeah, I guess it's just the subconscious. You know what I mean? Like the old, like you were saying, the things that happen in your formative years is so ingrained. You don't even know that you got parts of you that are in a trance still over that shit.
From an artificial spot.
Yeah.
And that's why it's tough. It's like just to give that cupcake to a baby or a child.
Child abuse. I mean, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's
yeah,
child
yeah,
abuse,
100%. You know,
Yeah.
and I've been knowing this about sugar. I was working at this place at a vegan bakery that used sugar and salt, and you know, towards the end of it, it was really I was feeling really morally compromised, serving it to kids, and like I just see parents come in and just give their kids whatever artificial syrups and like all these things, to where I'm having an issue getting off these things. Like I'm going through my own shit. Like man, like there'll be some weeks I might take a sip of a little Italian soda. You know, like, whoa, like,
Yeah.
whoa, dog, and like, I mean, I could slip up in that. It's like
Yeah.
that's not for me at all. And I'm going through months of this, like, man, really processing this, and then it's just like, but then I'm still serving these people, and then these people giving their kids, and I got this rage, like,
Yeah.
I got this rage, like, just seeing a parent hit their kid at the mall,
It's the
like,
same.
like
It's
just
the
doing
same,
it, but it's more of an unconscious. Because the parents really like doing it. They know they're doing it.
It's like you smack the kid to make him shut up. It's like you give him the kid the sugar to make him shut up. It's the same.
Yeah, it just doesn't. But there's just no knowledge about how that sugar is really killing that child. So it's just this is just a little tool I can use. This tablet is just you know, here's this tablet and
Yeah.
get these
like-
kids further compartmentalized in their formative years to where I could see them in their 20s, 30s later on, maybe trying to get off of it and they can't.
Yeah, dope fiends. It's like, you know, it just comes down to parents that have not mastered anything, have not mastered themselves, have no crafts that they've mastered. Because if they did, then they can fill all that space with that instead of pacification. Because like if you had a craft that you mastered, if you're a seamstress, and your kid is it wouldn't even get to that point of acting out. You could just funnel it into them, funnel the different things into them, introduce that stuff to them, and then they already get into that moving meditation and start doing things and realizing the difference between gentle and hard movements and everything.
Yeah, no one's
They're not doing that.
no one's
So-
aware of this.
Yeah, so some dad or mom, they work and they're not really tapping into their potential. And
Just shovel the kids
Yeah.
off to the indoctrination center.
yeah, they're
you
not.
know?
Yeah, they're just tired and they haven't never mastered anything. So they're just like, please just shut up. Just take the food, take the toy, just be quiet. You know what I mean? And then some people don't have that, so they just beat the shit out of the kid. But it's all the same.
Or abandon them,
Yeah.
which is just the same.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
So as far as the damage goes, just an emotional damage.
Yeah, it's just absence. Go from like emotional absence to physical absence.
Yeah, and
Snowballs.
so all these things is just like let's put it together in this picture of, you know, the compartmentalized human, and you know just how hard wired that all these things are, and then how the vaccines are sort of like seem like this final thing to sort of concrete or solidify.
Yeah, I wonder, you know what I mean, exactly what it's doing, you know what I mean? I feel like it's gotta be colonizing the species, man, and I wonder what it's doing between the communications of people, man. Like, if it's altering the way you communicate within your body, it's gonna alter the way you communicate with everybody else in the species, the whole human body, like, as a whole. So I don't know, I wonder what it's doing. I really wonder what the vaccine is doing, you know what I mean? I can only assume it's just further colonizing. Because like only a parasite would even devise something like that, and the only reason they would do that to just expand their power. And I don't see what else it could be.
So just colonize the colonizable bodies as much as possible, and then the bodies you can't get, that's just the natives. I don't know, like
you just surrounding them. You know what I mean? They're just gonna be surrounded. You know what I mean? And it's I guess if they get it to a point where there's not. Like if souls are reincarnating and they know that there's no bodies on earth that can house certain souls, then they just stay disembodied probably. And they probably still have influence on the field, but it's not the same as like if they don't have a body to come through.
That's what I was saying, is boots on ground. And like with all this UFO info, you know, I really believe there's agendas that are harmonious and ones that aren't.
Yeah.
You know, going deeper, I'm not even going to go into it at all, but if you do go into the opening conversation, there's different types of crafts. Okay, you could see a UFO, and there's a bad feeling you get from this thing. Like, it's like, some people are like, yo, this craft, some bad energy coming. And then there's other ones that energy would come and, like, it'd be something to where if it landed, wherever it landed, all the wildlife, all the trees and plants around it would grow for, like, 10 years. You know, and so there's crafts, there's like, it seems like there's agendas on this planet, and there's beings around, and they can affect things here, but not as much as you can with boots on the ground.
Yeah.
And I was talking about, it's sort of off topic, but
So they just try to come through you.
yeah, if you can connect with, because they're gonna come through people, probably parasitically,
Yeah. To
or
get to
coming
you.
through people.
To get to you. Yeah.
Yeah, or coming through people divinely, or just through light and conscious awareness, and that's how people channel different things.
Yeah. So like they drive a parasite your way, parasite gets under your skin, makes you angry, then you synchronize through anger, and then it probably opens that door to your liver.
And then someone can just step in.
Metaphysically, and then it just creates a little nest physically eventually. And, I mean, that's the only thing that seemed to make sense. But yeah, it's like, it's a crazy thing, man, like having this many people under the spell, because, I wonder how it's going to balance out. I guess, things are supposed to balance out, right? Typically, I just wonder how that's even going to look. I guess it just less is more, you know what I mean?
I'm seeing it where...
Say you live 200 years, 300 years, and then people are just averaging dying 30 or 40 because of the vaccine life.
Yo.
And then you just got to be satisfied with, like, if you're living 200 years, it's a different walk, it's a different pace. So you might spend your first 100 years just self-development, most of your time alone. And then, like, that's, like, your childhood. And then, like, have 50 years of, like...
Like, childhood's, like, 0 to
30s.
60.
Yeah. Yeah, like, and that's how I think it would be. It would just be a different walk, and you would just be satisfied with different things. Your patience would be so high that 60 years would feel like 16 years, probably.
Yeah, that could be possible, because it's like you told me last night, and you've said it before too. It's mind blowing, about how you have only a certain amount of breath.
Yeah, so that's what I think. Yeah, I feel like we're all allotted a certain amount of breath.
So you could stretch it.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's like somebody with 10,000. If they got the right plug, they could turn that 10,000 into a billion. Somebody with 10,000 would be broke in a day. And it's just like, it's just
like
here's the way to,
yeah,
just spending in little ways that don't come back. And then somebody to take the 10,000 and be like, look, I'm gonna live on 1,000 of it, take 9,000 of it, or whatever, and stretch this and just keep flipping. And it's basically like I don't have it. I'm looking at it like I don't even have it.
Yeah.
And it just keeps growing, and other people, it's like the same thing with the breaths. Like, if you were to just extend those breaths and take longer, more full breaths, you could live 20 more years and have the same amount of breath as somebody else. It all got sped up because the way they managed their body, that they still took the same amount of breaths as you, but they'd be like, oh, you only live till 50. Like, no, they still live to 10,000 breaths, or 100 and something thousand, whatever breaths or whatever.
Yeah.
It's the same amount of breaths, and the time thing is kind of its own thing.
And shorter breaths are stressed.
Yeah.
The body can't heal
Yeah.
either, so
They
it's
can't,
just,
yeah.
it's just you really can't stretch them and get to that. And so it's just these contexts, man. It's just we're settling. I see myself this next 5 years just settling into these contexts where my nervous system can get there.
Yeah.
With that type of patience.
Yeah. Yeah, just like different kind of fulfillment. Different things fulfilling you. You're like, wow, I'm content off of that. I think that's what the strange part of it is. You're like, damn, I guess I always was. And it just was just a bunch of traffic.
I guess I always was breatharian.
Yeah.
I guess I always was tantra.
Yeah.
I guess I always was, in order.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's wild. I really did start that way. I was always that way. Like, I really was always just too nervous to ejaculate. Like, up until I got married. I didn't ejaculate with females until I was 19. Like, I didn't. You know what I mean? I was always in it for them. You know what I mean? Just because I was too nervous to even get to that point of relaxation. So then, like, when I was 19, I got married. And then I guess I just, like, I'm married. I don't care. It don't matter. And then, like, for, 3 years, I got away from it, from Tantra. And then that sickness that got created in that 3 years is pretty much what drove me to this point of, like, really, creating the next experience of, like, let me go back to that and realize why I did that. Because, I went back into investigating, like, Montauk Chia and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, man, this checks out. This is what I was doing when I was 13, 14, 15. This is what I was doing. This is it right here. I don't know. I mean, I didn't need this book, but I'm glad he wrote it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. And then so much shit is like that, I feel like with, you start coloring or something or whatever, and you're like, man, I really enjoyed this last hour, you know what I mean, or whatever, a drawing or whatever. You're like, man, I used to really enjoy this as a kid. I always have. I just always distracted myself.
And it's just static. It's just like shallow static that's filled with, things that are typically artificial. And it's just like no real experience. Like, it's experiences, just shallow experiences, but without that, it's just another, like, you can never be, like, it's not like you can never be content, but you can't even get a taste of that type of contentment to where you could get a glimpse of a life of that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like a whole life of that, especially if all you've ever known, the entire culture, parents, everybody has been doing these things. And
Yeah.
so that's why I really love we're putting together these shows, man. At least for this time being, until we get to the dream level, the dream arbiter level.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I guess people think it's like people think you're living on vacation because the way they live is so hard. People they associate hardness with correctness
And success. That's one of my issues. Like, I think I have a lot of beliefs that success needs to be hard.
Yeah.
You know, that is me making it hard for me, and if it comes easy, I would kind of sabotage it.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm more. I've been working on that.
It's like challenging doesn't have to be hard. Like, it's like challenging to it's mad shit. It's just challenging to be patient, and patience is like a softness in some ways. So it's like, it's funny how that is. Like, it just doesn't have to be hard.
Well,
it could be still challenging as fuck.
I love the challenge, though.
Yes, I'm saying
that's what I'm learning to love.
I'm saying the challenge isn't a problem. Just the approach doesn't have to be hard.
Yeah.
Like
wow. Yeah. So I like challenges, but it doesn't have to be hard. But things when they're hard earned, it feels like yes.
Yeah.
Yes, this makes sense. This makes sense, but
it's like hard work, hard results, though.
Yeah, and so people are working harder instead of smarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for that reason. Yeah, and so just working on all these things, but it's a new lifestyle. I feel like it will be sustainable, and it will be more effective than any artificial plan to affect things. I feel like if we really can get aligned.
Yeah, man. A world with like I was living in Egypt, there was juice bars everywhere. So since again competition, you got that much competition. I mean, juice was like pennies. It cost nothing. So I feel like if you just have friendly competition and the right value system, then I don't see why anything won't work. If there's a bunch of raw Fresnos around the world, stuff like that, then it would be cheap.
More raw cafes, raw food, and juice bars.
Yeah, to where they like McDonald's, and then they would be cheap as hell. It should be cheap.
Yeah.
Raw food should be cheaper. There's no cooking.
Damn.
Why is it more expensive? Like it's
inflation or whatever.
Yeah, it's just inflation, and then the fact that people, it creates that like false scarcity because there's only one raw restaurant in the city or two raw, a few raw restaurants or whatever. So it's like an artificial scarcity. Just like diamonds, just like everything.
It's
money.
Crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's just rough. Like that's just the most frustrating situation is seeing how they'd be like, okay, no more jobs, but you still gotta pay rent. Like no, you gotta no more work, but you still have to pay for that, and knowing people can't pay for that.
Yeah.
And so people are literally working with no other means and skills to get something for themselves,
and no time to develop something else. Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it really is a crazy leap of faith, man. To like really shut it all down and go through that. If you want to be giving everything, got to give everything up. That's just gonna be so daunting for a lot of people in the midst of that.
Unless they do it together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I said.
Yeah.
If you go with somebody who's not as bad, and that's beautiful friends. I really feel like that's what we're doing with this show, man. And I don't know if there's anything else you want to add.
Nah, it's probably long enough for today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have nothing else in mind.
Yeah, but I feel like we're getting a lot done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just shouts out to the viewers, man. We're up to 20 patrons.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a Patreon video. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
For real.
Thank you for the support.
Yeah, and then we're just gonna keep going, keep rocking. It's gonna be something we can't expect. So, just continue to not think.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
be.
And just do what makes sense, and don't do what doesn't make sense. If you can't make it make sense, then you can't trust it.
Word.
All right, man.
All right, man.
Got that one done.